We hope you're enjoying this series on my two-door STI. In my opinion, one of the coolest and most unique Subarus ever made. We got the engine in. We had some dramas with parts not fitting properly, which just sometimes happens, and we have been under the pump.
The reason that we're under the pump as well, by the way, is that Christmas is just days away, and around that time, friends go travelling, people go overseas, shops close, so we really want this thing working and driving before Christmas. Of course, there's just a short amount of time left. If you do want to grab one of our awesome limited time only posters, we will individually autograph your order and send it to you anywhere in the world. Basically what's going to happen, because we got a couple of things to do. So we got to be building the car, but then also editing the videos for you as well. So basically what's going to happen in this episode is I'll be helping out with some of it, but we're going to be shooting here. Marty's going to be feeding me the footage. I'm going to be editing it together. And then if you are seeing this video right now, it means that we have successfully made a video and got it out to you before Christmas. And speaking of which, Christmas Day, there is a big episode coming as well. So anyway.
So also working on that concurrently at the same time. We do have Dave coming in this episode, hopefully. I really hope he shows up to give me a hand to get it started. So while this is a little bit more in sort of our wheelhouse of familiarity with an engine, and we did choose an engine that makes this a little bit quicker, there's still a lot of customization to do. So we actually don't know what's going to happen yet in this episode, but fingers crossed things will be wide, things will be plumbed, things will be modified, and maybe even started.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods. Now, last episode was absolutely epic. We got the 2.5 litre engine actually in the bay, plus I went to Japan to pick up a brand new delicious turbocharger directly from Subaru, which gets us one step closer to finishing this dream build for Marty. But if you want to get behind the wheel of your dream car, now is your chance, because thanks to Castrol and Supercheap Auto, if you grab some Castrol oil, you head down to store, you yourself can be in the chance to win $100,000. And with that, what are you going to buy? That's completely up to you. We'd probably buy 50 Camrys.
Or there'd be two STIs here and we could have matching ones. How good would that be? We could do this again.
Martin, what are we doing today, mate?
Okay, hopefully, well, the idea is that hopefully by the end of this episode, we're actually putting this in the car and using it so we can start it. That's what we're aiming to do. I have no actual idea how we're going to get there. I know we've got tables of stuff. Some old, some new, some secondhand, some random stuff that we scrounged around. I know there's parts coming today. I know Dave's coming as well. And that's all I actually know. I'll be real with you. I don't actually know if it's going to work. I know we have about 48 hours of time. Then we're supposed to be on a dyno. So,
you know what, Martin? I'm going to make a claim. By the end of this episode, the car's actually going to be working, starting, and rolling under its own power. Mark my words. If it doesn't, I'll buy a Hyundai. I will.
Oh, let's do it.
The fuel system is next on my list, so I'm going to pump out all the old fuel by hot wiring the original pump to 12 volts. In this car, you get to it from the boot via a small removable panel. That's right, this car was made before manufacturers decided they wanted to make it take a whole day to service your fuel system. Once it's drained, I can install a mad new hanger with mad new pumps in it. I have to get the rear seats out of the way so they can come out next, as does the flappy panel bits and the bracing. The existing pump is original, and while you can just whack a newer pump into the same setup, I've gone for something a little bit better.
There's two things you do not want to starve your car of. There's actually three. The first is attention. Second is oil, or on top of that. Third is fuel. So this is an aftermarket hanger made by Radium. It replaces a stock one. It has like a bit of a surge tank thing in there with a ball system, similar to what we're going to use on the WRX as well, actually. It's a really nice setup. This is twin pump. We do not need two pumps, but two pumps for the future. Who knows? This all uses the original stock bits, but we just have to do different wiring to make it work in the car. So we're going to bash it in the tank, and hopefully that will fit perfectly.
I'm a huge fan of upgrades like this. Not only do you get rid of parts that are a quarter of a century old, you also get a few performance upgrades like surge tanks, baffles, or improved fuel pickup locations. This particular one recycles the fuel level sender, so that function doesn't change and uses the same wiring, but it allows you to run staged or parallel pumps for a solid supply of fuel.
I've used a bit of Radium stuff over the years, and one of my favourite things, it's a small thing, but it's super thoughtful. So they give you this plug, right, to crimp onto the original fuel sender, but they don't just give you one, they give you two. So we're talking about an extra couple of bucks worth of stuff. But this is the kind of thing, if you've never done it before and you stuff it up, can ruin your day because you can't do it anymore. Other things you can undo, you can redo, but this, once you crimp it, it's kind of forever. So getting two plugs, it's a good idea. Fuel pump is in, looks excellent. Now, if you're gonna have massive fuel supply for a massive built engine with a massive turbo, you probably need to run a bigger fuel supply hose. I'm gonna be able to use the factory ones, which keeps everything very simple. This is a GFB FXS, which means it will also use 8mm fittings like the rest of the fuel system, and I can adapt the rails that are actually already on the engine, which saves a bunch of time. So that's the regulator there. I screw in a bunch of fittings onto here, find a spot for it, fuel in, fuel out, set the pressure. We can also put a sensor in this that will talk to the ECU to make sure our fuel pressure is good all the time. So I'm going to mount this up.
Factory turbo cars like this often come with boost referenced fuel pressure regulators, but because we've changed the rails, injectors, lines and just about everything else, it makes sense to use one like this, and while we're at it, install a sensor that can be used for logging by the ECU and used as an engine protection function.
Progress has been made. I have roughed in some more of the fuel system. I can't connect it all up just yet. There's a lot of old cast stuff. So we can turn that into one tiny little valve that just sits up here and clear a bit of space in our engine bay. And Dave's here, and Dave, I see a lot of colourful wires. Why is that?
Rainbows are fun. Unicorns are fun.
Yeah.
We've got a few things to add. I think I'm paying for my past sins because we used the loom from this engine and then used it on the 6-cylinder.
Yeah.
And now I have to integrate this original loom back up to this engine.
Yep.
We've got a few things to add, but that's all right. It's
a bit
good.
of a job.
It's just a bit of a job.
Because it's old car, new manifold, new engine, and so we could have used the wiring loom off this engine, but then that wouldn't necessarily be compatible with the car.
But then I'd have to do more work this way. So
either way, it's a bit of a job.
Yeah.
Now, there are ways to just like unpick factory looms and plug it in and then flash them. You can do that, absolutely. As usual, I want to go one step further. I want to have better monitoring of all my essentials, my fuel pressure, my oil pressure, my coolant temperature, all those things. A bunch of sensors in here. It's actually, in my opinion, less work to just do that now, pay a bit more money for the parts and do it once and do it right. So that's why Dave's here. This is the original power steering pump. This is the power steering pump that came on the EJ257. I'd like to use that one because then I have better access to the intake pipe. It all just packages up a lot nicer. Luckily, the high pressure side bolts straight on. The low pressure side though is a little different because the car originally had a cooler that sat up the top and used a different hose size. I'm gonna be able to delete this, use that one, but to make that work, I put an aftermarket power steering cooler or an oil cooler that I put here in front of the aircon condenser. Because there's no front mount in this car, there's actually heaps of room up front. I'll be able to run a little hose down to here, adapt it into the power steering, and we should have working power steering.
The old pump clashes with the turbo intake pipe, so it's going in the bin, and instead I'll use the late model STI one. The two-door came with a power steering cooler pipe which won't fit anymore, so instead I'm going to use a transmission cooler mounted to the aircon condenser and run some longer hoses back to the rest of the system. I'll also need to get myself a power steering remote reservoir and find a spot for it so that it'll all work. Dave has been handed a tricky one with this, as the newer engine is way more advanced electronically than the old one, and that means heaps more new wires to run.
All right, I'm going to use my phone a friend option. Friends pick up their phone.
Hello, Martin.
Oh, Alan.
How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you going? Hey, quick question. How many Subaru engines have you changed?
Yeah, not quantifiable.
Okay.
A lot.
Many.
Black hole spec.
And 2.5s swapping into an older GC8. Do you have any wisdom about the good, the bad, the ugly, the process?
Should go in easy enough. Just use the engine mounts off the old engine, not the plastic ones.
Uh-oh. Why is that?
Because they flop around more.
Yeah, fair enough.
Assuming it's turboed and you want it to go fast and don't care about it being nice to you.
Well, I care a little bit. And can I also pick your brain on twin scroll? Do you have experience with twin scroll, or is there anything you particularly like or don't like about it?
Yeah, twin scroll's good. It's much better than dub-dub noises for the engine. So, yes, that's a win.
Oh, you lose the dub-dub, don't you?
It's still got a little bit of sound. Doesn't sound like a straight fall, like not that bad. But doesn't sound like a like a V8 missing half its cylinders either.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's much better for the engine, for everything, for pinging and exhaust pressure and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, keep it alive longer, which is no mean feat on a Subaru.
Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you, mate.
There you go, from the man himself. One of the joys on working on a Subaru is the amount of aftermarket support that exists. These cars are getting a bit old. The last one that looked like this rolled off the production line nearly 25 years ago, but there's still a lot of parts that fit. There's some that are unique to GC8s or GM8 in my case that are a bit harder to find, and one of those can be radiators, but I managed to get this through Pro Speed Racing, who are in New South Wales. They sent it down. It is a very, very nice alloy radiator. So the GC8 also requires a header tank, so you can see there's no actual filler neck on it, so we have to use a separate external one. It's just the way they did it back in the day. This will replace the factory one, which I don't even have because it was so busted. I got some fans which I'll rip off the original one and put onto this and then stick it in the car.
Cooling and reliability mods are important on just about any car, but if you're going to track it or push the power limits, then it's even more important, particularly with a Subaru like this one. Radiators in particular can corrode or get blocked over time, so a new one is cheap insurance. This one uses the factory fans and the whole assembly drops into place. But how do we keep an eye on the coolant temps and pressures?
Combo pressure and temperature sensor. I've got an adapter that goes into the original Subaru thread, which is a metric thread. I think it's M12 by 1.5. That will reduce down to M10 1.0, which is that. I'm going to screw that into the crossover pipe, and that will give the Haltech all the information it needs for temperature and pressure. It will not run the gauge anymore. That's something we just do later. I'd rather have the data, the logging, and be able to see it on a CAN gauge or a laptop than just be guessing on what's happening with this thing. So that's going in.
Another way you can do this is to drill and tap or weld in threaded bungs into this alloy crossover pipe so you can keep the factory temperature gauge. Or if you happen to have a clever mate like Davo, you can use an output from the ECU and program it to drive the gauge.
So next up, I am going to replace the old header tank. This is actually not a late model one. This is the early STI one. I don't even know if it works with this manifold because it's different. I've got myself a fabricated one like this, which has a bit more capacity, and these are known to let go and get a bit yuck. So just got to put the fittings on, install that on top of the manifold like that, run the hoses, and the cooling system is close to done.
This tank is for an in-between model of my engine and car, but some basic brackets will get it into the right spot. Subarus have a pitch mount that connects the top of the engine and box back to the firewall. This white line one will hold it all in place very nicely, and importantly, it also looks mad.
Here's a little update from In the Weeds, which is what I consider this part of a build where everything is everywhere and it feels like you're never going to finish it. We're actually not that far off. Dave has got the loom roughed, and now he'll need to tape it, add some connectors. He'll actually take it away to do that. And while he's doing that, I'm going to finish plumbing. So fuel system's got one or two little extra things to do. I can do the flex sensor and a couple of other little jobs. It's going to look like this for a while, and then it's going to come together really quickly. An intercooler's going to go on it, a belt's going to go on it. We're going to plug it in and try and start it.
If this was a stock 99 STI with a stock engine, the Haltech would plug straight in via an adapter harness. Same is true if it was a 2018 STI, but because I've done a hybrid of both, I've thrown Dave under the bus with a decent amount of custom wiring. That said, everything is in similar spots, so we just need to add extra wires to run the cam controls, of which there are many on this engine, plus our normal things like purge, boost control and air temperature. I've got a power steering reservoir from a VA STI which I'll mount up on a non-binky spec bracket, and then I can run the hoses and tighten all the belts.
This is my twin scroll dump pipe. I actually got this off Benny, aka Mechanical Stig. He had it spare from a twin scroll project that he was doing. Yes, you need a different dump because the outlet is very, very different looking. This has no cat in it, so we'll end up putting a cat here between that and the rest of the exhaust pipe. I'm just going to bash this on and make sure it fits. We are blasting through the modifications today, so much so that it's actually time to dump this car back onto the ground so me and Dave can start to buzz out some of the wiring. We are very, very close to starting. In the meantime, I am going to put on some new tyres. These are Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. These are the sticky ones. These are an excellent, excellent tyre to take to the track, which this car did. It was the last place it went, and it's going to go back there again. So these will provide extra grip. They're amazing on track, lots and lots of strength in the sidewall as well. So they feel good. And I've had them on a few of my cars, and absolutely my favourite tyre that Michelin makes. So these are going to go back on, we'll dump the car, do a bit more wiring. We'll probably have to put it back on the hoist to finish the exhaust, but we are getting there. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so close.
My shiny new custom-made and slightly dented intake pipe is feeding the engine via a pod filter and an enclosed airbox for neatness and some colder air. Next up, it's time for fluids, and then we can try and start this thing.
All right, it's time to put in the Subaru funnel and then put some oil in here. And I do want to take a second just to say a massive thank you to Castrol. They've been supporting our show for probably about 10 years now, since the beginning, before we were cool, Martin.
Before we were cool. They also happen to be an oil partner of Subarus as well. So if you buy a Subaru, Castrol Oil is what's in it and what they service it with, which is actually pretty cool. One of my favourite reasons for working on Subarus is legitimately that funnel. Because look, like, have you ever seen a more glorious thing? No spills, no fuss. You see it going in. I just love it. I think it's the best. We're using Castrol Edge 5W40, very common in Subarus. If you're building an engine, ask your engine builder exactly what grade to use, but this is good for this kind of car.
They also have a thing, if you're in Australia, called Rego to Oil. We'll put a link down below and you can put your Rego in. It'll tell you what fluids you need and how much for your kind of car. But they basically contacted us and said, hey, we want to try and give someone, you know, the chance to win $100,000 for or towards their dream car. Is there something we can help you with as well? And we're like, this car actually needs to be done. So it was an initiative that we were very, very happy to get behind. And plus, we're really excited that hopefully one of you is going to win 100 grand, which is pretty cool. All of the details are down below. Thank you also to Supercheap Auto. So Martin, how much goes in? Is it like 5 point something?
It's going to be under 5, but because we're completely new sump, it's the same capacity, but it has the baffling. But because we've drained all the oil out of it, it'll be a bit over 4.5. Normally you put about 4.5 litres in these things.
Yeah.
But always use your dipstick. That is the best way to tell. If you are tracking your Subaru, it's a good idea to just add a little bit more, give it a little bit of a chance. But if you're tracking it a lot, I'd absolutely recommend a version of a baffled sump or an upgraded pickup. Definitely.
And if you own a Subaru, you should be checking your oil all the time.
That's true.
My mum's got a Subaru. I tell her to check it. And your mum had a Subaru for a long time.
Yep.
In fact, your mum's car raced my mum's car.
It did.
So it was a Subaru Impreza versus IS200 at one of our fan meets.
Gen 3 Liberty, bright red.
Go, 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 go. Foot to the floor. Hold it there, hold it there, hold it there.
Chopped! Oh no, change, change! Change, oh no! No!
Hold it there. There!
That's it, red line, red line!
I'm doing the red
Yes.
line. I'm doing the red line.
Oh, so close!
Yeah, and we ended up converting that car. We ended up turboing it. There's a video about it.
Which car won? Do you remember?
It was one
I think
each.
one and then the other one won, which was pretty cool, having our mum's drag race. That was pretty rad.
All right, so the plan is now oil in. Dave's just about done. He's ready to start looking at firing things up. We need to put a battery in it.
Where is he?
He's over there.
I'm
What
giving him a
legend.
cuddle.
Put a battery in it.
A consensual cuddle.
We're
He's gonna
testing a
nod
bunch of
before I
wiring.
touch.
I made the intake, and we've got to just adapt the dump, put a cat in it, and that's kind of it. It feels like a lot, and it kind of is, but it's not as much as I thought.
Do you know what I think we should do now, Martin?
Put oil in it. Don't forget, put more oil in it.
Yeah, no, but I think there should be a whole lot of that and more working on this.
Oh, yeah. What happens if I do it, though?
Our Castrol oil is finally going in, and now it's time to get the engine management plugged in and ready to go. The stock ECU lives under the passenger's feet, and using a Haltech patch harness, we can plug in the original connectors to one side and our Haltech Nexus S3 into the other. It can actually be powered up from the USB connection, so Dave can do setup on the bench, and once he's configured it and loaded a base map, he can then connect it into the car. Of course, we can't forget our O2 sensor, which keeps an eye on our air-fuel ratio. We've got more fluids to go in, both coolant, which is called PO, and of course power steering. A good trick is to spin up the pump before you start the car to help prime it and get rid of any air that makes a terrible noise. None of any of this is going to work without power, so now it's time to put in a battery.
Lately, we've been using lithium batteries as the main batteries for our car. Why? Because they've got a good power to weight ratio. They weigh very, very little. They're quite small. And also, a lot of other cool features. This is a Lithium Max. These guys are local to us. This one has Bluetooth monitoring, so you can check it on your phone with an app, but also it's called a restart. And that means if you do, for some reason, drain it down, it does have the capability, much like a jump starter that you might get, to hit a button and then that boosts it up so you can start your car, which will then charge it again. This will go into the same location as factory. We've got adapters to use the posts that we have already, and this will mean now we can try and start and crank the car. Okay, so we're going to start off by putting some fresh 98 in this. I think because of that turbo, the benefits we would see with ethanol would be low, but always happy to try and do it. So I have put a flex sensor into this thing. It is wired into the computer, which means all we've got to do is change the fuel and then remap it. And we can use ethanol, but for now, petrol. Reds?
Yeah.
We got reds.
Yeah.
We're keyed on. So now, what happens now? It's got fluids in it. Power steering still needs to be bled. That needs to spin. We spun it with a drill, which starts it off, but you need to run it for longer. It's got coolant in it with the funnel bucket to try and get all the air out of it. Most importantly, it has engine oil in it. So some Castrol EJ257 is in there. That's the most essential stuff right now when trying to start it. We could also let the smoke out if we've stuffed something up with wiring or plumbing, but I think we're going to be okay because Dave's here. It's always okay when Dave's here.
The smoke should have already come out. So
the smoke should have already come out.
There's no smoke, but there's also no fuel, which has us both a little confused.
So we ended up with 100 pounds of fuel pressure, and it turns out, and it's really good that we checked, that I didn't actually plumb the return properly. So because it's got parallel rails, I sort of went, oh yeah, fuel in, fuel out. That's actually not how parallel rails work. And I've plumbed it incorrectly. So it sounded weird. Davo noticed it's got 100 pounds of fuel pressure because it's not actually returning to the tank. So I've got to fix that. So that's got to go back to the car. That's the wrong one. So the solution to this is pretty easy. I've just basically got to cut a fitting off, cap it because it's all -6, and then put the hose to where it's meant to go, which is back to the tank. So that one just needs to be basically run from the flex sensor and back up to the tank, and then we'll be good to go. All right, we've got fuel pressure, we've got fluids. Now we'll just see what happens. All right, moment of truth. We are gonna crank and try and start it. See if we get oil pressure.
We're just going to get oil pressure.
All right, we're going to do oil pressure. Not as exciting as seeing it start, but we're going to try and get oil pressure. It is important.
Very much.
Let's go.
Try it. Weird noise?
Funnel bucket farted.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. All right, keep going.
Queefed.
Hey, we've got oil pressure. Moment of truth.
We'll try it.
Yeah, see if it runs.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's going to be loud too because the exhaust is not connected.
It's been a day, but I think everything is good.
All right, nothing leaking out of it? No, it's completely dry.
Wow.
Unlike every other Subaru in the world. Do it, Davo.
I'll try it.
Do it. Just be ready to turn it off.
Yep, correct. Yell at me. All right, ready?
Yep.
Haven't got RPM.
No RPM?
No.
Oh, okay.
I've got absolutely nothing.
Okay, so we worked out on this particular model of WRX, Dave remembered that when the immobiliser runs, and you will remember very clearly what happens when the immobiliser hits, it looks like this.
The car's dead, is why I stopped.
Oh, it thinks we got hijacked.
Okay.
It thinks we got hijacked.
It's dead.
It's not dead like broken dead. It thinks we got hijacked, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Because this little stupid keypad thing, this is the thing I freaking hate about this vehicle so far, and it's going to go in the bin. ASAP. So now we're locked in.
Okay.
So now we've got to open it as if we're getting out of it. Open the door.
Open the door.
Yep. Oh look, we just got in our STI. Yay!
now I get back
Shut
in.
the door. Yep, shut the door. Now you put that key in.
Okay.
I have to check the code because I've forgotten it already, but I have to write it down. So this is if, so say you're in like a real hurry to go meet up with someone, you're like, oh my God, this is going to be the best night ever. And nope, not in your WRX, you're not.
Okay.
Nope, you're still waiting. We put in our code.
Oh, does my door have to be closed?
I don't know.
Okay.
I actually don't know the answer to that.
And now try and turn the key?
Yep, so you got nothing, so we put our code in. Nope. Try again. No, nothing. Got keys. Turn the key on.
Turn the key. The keys off. And then my door has to be closed.
Maybe.
Keys
on.
in, now keys on.
Now take the key out completely and try it again. Try and turn it. No, nothing. It thinks you got hijacked.
Okay.
You cannot get out at a track and let your friend drive your car.
Okay.
So that's all gone now, but the ECU still has some magic in there where you need to wire it unimmobilized when you are patching in a new ECU. Who'da knew? So now we should have RPM. Let's see. Mad. All right, so we've got a signal now, so we will...
I don't have a cam pulse, but that's the story for another day.
No cam, but by having the crank position, it means it's good enough to at least see if it'll run. So injector's back on and now see if it runs?
Yeah, we'll see if it runs, man.
It's never straightforward, is it? Like, there's always a little bit of this, because every car's different, especially something that's been Frankenstein like this.
We love the fight. All right.
All right, let's go, Davo.
Hold on to your
It's going to be
butts.
loud if it runs. Be ready for it.
Correct.
That's cool.
They all sound all right. Sound okay?
Yeah.
Oh! What was the only thing I had to do in the engine bay? That's what it was. That's the only thing.
All right, wants to go. Wants to go.
It does want to go.
We've got fuel or spark in the wrong spot.
It is definitely possible that something is in the wrong spot because we pinned it all out, but maybe it got lost in communication in between when we were doing some pin out stuff.
Troubleshooting. 8 hours of me and Dave talking about random things that he's probably done 95% of correctly and forgot one thing.
I probably just had a bacon egg roll and just lost my plot. Just got distracted. Distracted like a fool. Let's see which edge this is going.
Hey!
I was not expecting that to happen.
It's alive. Maybe it's a fueling thing?
It is a fueling thing because I turned the injectors off and then it ran.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's try again. Come on.
Interesting.
All right, I think they're thousands. I'm nearly certain they are.
I'm sure you are because the name and the plug and everything matches up. This will probably start terribly just because I had the wrong fuel setting in there, but it'll come good.
All right, here we go.
We'll try it.
Come on, let's go. Yes! Sounds good. It started, Davo. Fantastic. There we go, everybody. We told you we would start the car, and we started the car. So thanks for watching this episode of Mighty Car Mods, where it took us days and days to make you one slice of this. Thank you to Davo for coming down. Thank you to Castrol for helping, and Supercheap Auto for helping to make this happen. And next episode, we are going to tidy a few things up and hit the dyno. See you then.